What's up, Inkie peeps? It's Del from Inkie Quill, and today we're doing a video that I've been wanting to film for a while. I've had these NUVO drops in my stash. I would have to say it's been probably a year and a half, I think, and I am yet to properly use them. I've done a few little squiggles on some scrap paper, but I haven't actually used them. And I thought for today's technique tactics video, we'd try and tackle them because boy oh boy, they've been baffling me a little bit, I will admit. I have a few issues with them, which I'll show you throughout the video, and I do like a few things about them, which I'll also show you. So today I thought, do you know what, whenever I have a product or something that I find difficult to use, I seem to pair it with a project that is difficult for me, and I'm not a card maker. You guys know this. I don't make cards. I think I've made two, and so I thought, hey, let's try a product that I'm not comfortable with a technique that I'm also not comfortable with. And today we're making 5 different cards because I couldn't just make one. I made 5. Oh dear, look, I like 4 of them. One of them I have some issues with, but I'll tell you about that when we get to it. So first up, I wanted to try and use the NUVO drops in different ways because I've seen them mainly be used in place of enamel dots. So doing little dots and either doing them directly onto your project or doing them on a separate piece of like waxed paper and popping them off and then sticking them on wherever you wanted to. And I wanted to experiment with a few other ideas that I was playing around with. So on this piece of basil marshmallow cardstock, I'm just using my watercolors and making 4 blotchy watercolor patches. I waited for it to dry, and now I'm using the NUVO drops to draw shapes with. So for this piece of cardstock, I drew triangles, and I am going to speed this up quite heavily because I'm just drawing some triangles. As you can see, the first row are a little wiggly and a little wonky. It does take some getting used to. So my top tip for this part is to practice on a scrap piece of paper first, so that you can, but even then the lines aren't always even, but it does help to just practice for a little while first. So I did pink, red, purple and blue, which are probably my fave colors at the moment to scrap with. I also did some hearts on another piece of cardstock, and I really loved the way that this technique turned out. So if you have NUVO drops in your stash and you've tried them as enamel dots, and maybe you were a fan of it, maybe you weren't a fan of the final look, I suggest drawing with them because that was something different for me, and it's probably my favorite thing out of the different things that I try in this video. So next up, I wanted to do a galaxy sky. So I'm just using my Jane Davenport watercolors and another piece of basil marshmallow cardstock. I haven't wet it beforehand. It's just straight on to the cardstock. And I'm just using a nice voluminous brush, I guess you could say. It's a round brush, it's not a flat brush, and I'm just dabbing all different colors. I really wanted this galaxy to have a bit of a pinky tone in it, just to kind of contrast to the blue. So I'm just having a play, and if you've never done a galaxy sky before, it's really fun. It's really fun, and so I can't suggest more, just to whip out your watercolors and try. And the good thing, if you do try on a small sized canvas like this one, then if you don't like it, it's very easy to just start a new little sized canvas or to add some more color and cover it up. My tip is for galaxies is to work quickly and try and blend in some of the parts while the watercolor is still wet. You can see here some of my pink was already dry by this point, so it wasn't blending in that well, and so I went in with some splatters, and that kind of seemed to blend in the pink that was already dry with the pink splatters a little bit more. So I'm just going around and adding more splatters because you can never have enough splat. And then I dried it with my heat gun. It did warp quite a lot, and I am using lots of double-sided sticky tape to just straighten it out a little bit. I cut my cards. Now, I'm not, as I said before, I'm not a card maker. These cards don't have envelopes because I think I may have made them awkward sizes. I did recently just purchase the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board, which I'm really excited to have a play with. If you've got that, let me know any tips or tricks, if there's any suggestions you can have to make it easier to work out what envelope size you need. So I just attached it to a piece of, I think it might have been normal white basil cardstock, like the textured one from my stash. And I really like the way that the white crispness has a little border around the galaxy. I'm trying to use up these gold word stickers that I got in a Citrus Twist kit. So I've left them on my desk, and I'm really trying to use them up because they hang around otherwise. Now, off camera, I have stuck a gazillion stars on there. I saved you from watching me stick a lot of things in this video so that we can just get down to the nitty-gritty and get down to the actual techniques. So here I decided to try the good old dot technique, and so I've just got a gold glittery one, and I'm just doing lots of dots everywhere. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that this glittery makeup of this NUVO drops easier to work with than the shimmery ones. Has anyone else found that? If you've also got them at home, I found that the gold glitter seemed to come out of the tube a lot easier. And my only issue is that when doing these dots with this particular one, sometimes they had a little bit of a peak. If I made them too big, they were quite peaky and pointy, and so that's why I tried to stick to just making really, really tiny little ones. So I'm just spotting them around. I had it's called an awl. It's used for bookbinding. It's just like a metal skewer type device, and so I was just using that to smooth them over. So if you've got a toothpick or a needle, a pin, some sort of spiky thing on hand, it can help kind of get those peaks to not be as pointy. With this gold, I really struggled. I had to unclog the nozzle quite a lot, but you can see, and it would be my technique because I haven't used these really before, but I found that it was a real sticky, it just had a real sticky texture when it came out of the bottle. So all it wanted to do was to stay in the nozzle and form this little pointy top. I've tried flicking the bottom of the cardstock, I tried leaving it, and most of them leveled out. Some of them did stay a little pointy, but yeah, I found this gold quite difficult to work with. It could just be that I have a dodgy bottle. It could be that it's maybe I've had it for a year and a half, so it's been through 2 Aussie summers. Maybe it was a little bit much and it hasn't coped. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this mixture. So I'm just going through and adding as many as I could. I found it a lot easier to make smaller dots rather than larger dots. I try and come through here with it's like a clear shimmery one with some glitter in it. And so I'm just going through, and it was just really refusing to come out of that bottle. It just wasn't having it. So do let me know in the comments if you have these and if you like them, if you don't like them. And I think with practice, my technique would get better, as with, you know, anything creative, practice helps. But I just wanted to dive in and try out a few things today and show you some different ideas if you have got them, because I feel like they're the type of supply that you could easily be obsessed with for a short period of time, and then perhaps they do go into your stash and you forget about them for a little while. Some people might use them all of the time, but I have a feeling that they might be that type of product that you come and go with, and don't use as often as you could. So this next one, I've got a piece of pink textured cardstock. Any coloured cardstock that I've got is quite old in my stash. It's from back when I used to get the Hip Kit Club, and they used to come with a piece, or Scraptastic, one of them, used to come with textured coloured cardstock, probably still does, I think actually the Hip Kit one does. And so I'm not sure of the brand. I'm pretty sure they're all Basil, I think, but I don't know the colours. So this next one, I wanted to make a birthday themed card, because just like those gold words, I've got these black ones and I'm determined to use them all up. I've got one word left. I think it might be create, and I've got to find something that I can stick that onto soon. I decided to go with make a wish, and so I'm just going to write the A in the middle here. And I could have just stuck those straight onto the pink background, but I wanted to make them pop a little bit, and so it's really easy to do with just a scrap of white cardstock. Off camera, I have stuck down all of these little triangles. I decided not to go with the blue. It just didn't turn out as nicely as I had wished, and so I went with just the pink, the red and the purple, stuck them down, just made sure that no two colours were together right next to each other, add a doodly border, and my card is done. I think that it would be great to make a whole heap of like these little hearts that I've got off to the left here in advance, fussy cut them out and have them in a little dish near my desk so that they're ready to use. I think that's one of the things that stops me from using the NUVO drops, is that they have to dry. And I know that I use paint and other things that need to dry, but I feel like it's easier to dry them with my heat gun and then keep going with the project, whereas with the NUVO drops I feel like I have to wait a little while. Now this was a fail. I think I had just cleaned my messy mat with a disinfectant wipe, and I think it may have affected the mat a little bit, because usually in the past I have drawn on my messy mat with my Tombow dual brush markers and then wet them, and it's just worked like watercolor, but for some reason it just soaked into the mat. So I grabbed my acrylic block in a moment. It looks like there's no color going on there, but you'll see in the final pictures there is a nice little hint of subtle color. I grabbed my acrylic block and decide to scribble onto there instead. It just makes it a little bit easier. So if you've got these markers, you can also use them like watercolors, like I am here. Just scribble it, add some water, and it just gave a really nice soft background to this card. So this is a piece of my Basil Marshmallow cardstock that I have folded in half, and I wanted to use this. I'm trying to get through my embellishments. You'll see actually the next video is a tour of my new embellishment Rascogs. I've completely redone my 3 Rascog trolleys and reorganized all my embellishments, and I'm in heaven. I feel like when you reorganize your craft supplies, sometimes it's like going shopping in your own stash again, because you discover things that you forgot were there, and everything just looks so much more organized and prettier, and it just it's given me a real boost in my creative mojo, so which I needed. So I've got this wreath that was from a Felicity Jane ephemera pack from a while ago, and I just bump it up on some foam tape, and I'm just sticking that down. I wanted to do the black crosshatchy type background stamp in the background, just to tie in the black of the leaves on the wreath and also the black word, and it helped it all come together a little bit more. Got some little gold puffy hearts. I think that that gold sheet could be from Pink Fresh. I'm not quite sure though, I'm sorry. And I'm just adding a doodly border, because we all know I do like a doodly border, and I'm just doing that with my Pilot G2. And this card, I think my favorite out of all of them at the end is the Galaxy one, followed by this card. I think these are my 2 favorites, and I always put card making in the too difficult category for me, and I think it's because the cards that I look at online are very elaborate, intricate, or I watch Jennifer Maguire, and she has so many stamps and things, and I just get a little bit overwhelmed, and I feel like my cards could never be decent enough to give to someone. I don't know. I think it's different when you're scrapbooking. Most of the time you're scrapbooking just for yourself, whereas card making, you're giving it to someone else, and I get a little bit too anxious about what they're going to think of it. But I'm going to try and make some more cards. Let me know in the future, in the comments, if you'd like to see some more card making in the future. Maybe in March. It's Archie and I's birthday, so I might do some birthday cards maybe in March. Let me know if you'd like to see that. I really, really loved how these tiny little hearts turned out with the gold glitter NUVO drops. Basically, my favourite one, we could have guessed it beforehand. It's definitely it's the gold glitter one. It just seemed to work the best. It just seemed to work the best. Hearts are easy because they're just like little V's. So that's definitely a technique that I'll try again. Now this card. This card and I have a love-hate relationship, verging more on the not love side. It worked out cute. However, the dots are driving me crazy. And I think that's just a little bit of the slight perfectionist in me when it comes to, but I'm not a perfectionist. It's just, you'll see once it comes together, it's just, have you ever seen those things online where it'll be a photo of like some pavers or some tiles, and there's one tile that's facing the wrong way or is put in the wrong way, and it's just drives you a little bit nuts. Well, that's how I feel with this one. I'll show you when we do the rainbow. So this was a piece of scrapbook paper. I just cut it down. I think it might be, it could be a 4.5 by 4.5 square, I think. Well, doubled because it's folded in half. But here I decided to do a rainbow, and I found this idea on Pinterest. It didn't have a source to it, but I found someone had done a rainbow out of NUVO drops, and I thought, oh, fantastic. That'll be fun. They're just little dots. No, it drove me insane. I'm glad it was the last card, because I think if this was the first one, it probably would have put me off using them. The thing that frustrated me the most was that the dots weren't uniform. I think I'm used to using things like enamel dots where they're all the same size, and you can see this navy blue glitter one was very, very peaky, very spiky. So let me know if you've got any tips and tricks to avoid that. I did Google some, and I tried moving it around. I tried flicking the bottom. I tried all sorts of different things, and for the life of me, I couldn't get them even, and I couldn't make them work. And yeah, this card took a while, and it's lucky that I'm doing a voiceover, because I'm pretty sure I said some not very nice things to this card. So then I go in with the purple, and I decide to embrace the mistakes, because that's how we roll over here in Inkie Quill. And the light blue dots turned out a lot smaller than the navy blue dots, and so I thought, that's okay, I'll make it a pattern. Small row, larger row, small row, larger row. And so that did help. So the reds are going to be bigger, and I think that if I had executed it a little bit better, then it would have looked more purposeful, but it kind of just looks like I didn't make them all the same size. So yeah, so this card, I should have sped it up a little bit quicker, sorry, but this card did take a lot of my patience. You can see here the smaller dots are just so much easier to use, so much easier. If you do use NUVO, is it NUVO or NUVO? They sound different, don't they? New or new? I'm not sure. If you do use them, Do you prefer to use them straight onto your project, or do you prefer to put them onto some sort of plastic or wax paper and then pop them off and use them as you require them? What do you prefer? Because I'm tempted to try and make some of those little gold hearts on waxed paper and see if they will work, if they'll pop off, and if I'll be able to stick them to some projects. So you can see I tried tapping, I did try a lot of things off camera and it just wasn't working. This next card I really liked, and I did this off camera because I played with little pieces of foam and little pieces of tape, and it took forever to stick down all of those hearts. Some of them are raised up. All I did was I grabbed a piece of scrapbook paper, cut it down, folded it in half, and then stuck some of the hearts on along with one of those foam words, popping on a doodly border around the outside. I really love how these hearts turned out. I definitely think that it would be really fun to have a stash of them available, especially the larger sized ones. They're really good for layering other pieces on top of, and for that, I think they'd be really handy for project life. This, again, I am fighting with my glue as per usual, and I am using my awl tool as a bit of a glue apparatus to put the glue onto my card, just because I didn't want to open my new glue yet. So I'm just sticking down these little hearts, and these are the little ones that I punch out of gold cardstock. I think most of these are from my Fiskars handheld punch. This larger one looks like it's from the Martha Stewart punch, which I don't know if it's still available. I don't think it is. A lovely subscriber sent it to me, and I'm very, very lucky to have it, because it punches out really nice heart-sized shapes. So I'm adding a few things here, and then they're all done. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. I definitely love this Wonder card the most, and I think it's just because of all the gold, and I love the color of the galaxy background, how it worked out. I love the splotchiness of it, and it's really, really bright in person. I like this one. It's just nice and simple, and it's got lots of space to write on, which will be handy for a birthday card. I basically like all of them except the rainbow. The rainbow just bothers me a little bit, but hey, we can't love every creative thing that we make, and I think it's okay to recognize the projects that don't really go as planned, and I think that it's all right to learn from it, embrace it, move on from it, and maybe have a little break from the NUVO drops. I will revisit them. Let me know if you've got any other ideas, if you'd like me to test them out, because otherwise my NUVO drops, I fear, may sit in my stash for a little while. I am going to make some more of these hearts. I do like those. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.